All right, on this part of the notes, we're just going to practice the factoring, the finding the numbers that multiply together and add up to another number. So the instructions say find two terms that add to the first expression and multiply to the second one. Well, this is just that step of getting the numbers that multiply together to get AC and add up to get B. So we're not doing the whole problem, we're just focusing on that section. It says we need a sum of 15, so they add to 15, and a product of 36, which means this is the one we multiplied with. So let's take 36 and let's factor it. Well, there's obviously 1 in 36. When we divide by 2, I get 18. Divide by 3, I get 12. Divide by 4, I get 9. Divide by 6, I get 6. I have a repeat right there, so I know I'm done. Now, I need the ones that add up to 15. So we're just going to add each of these until we get one that says 15. So that's 37, 20, 15, 13, and 12. So the factors I needed were positive 3 and positive 15. Those are the two factors. Or sorry, correction, positive 12. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's do this again with number 4. It says we need a product of 3, so 3 is what we're factoring, and they need to have a sum of negative 4. Well, 3 only has two factors, 1 and 3. Now let's think about this. Are there other factors of 3 if we added in negatives? Because we need a sum that's a negative. What about negative 1 and negative 3? If I did negative 1 times negative 3, I would get positive 3, which is what we need. If I did negative 1 plus negative 3, I would get negative 4, which is what we needed. So our numbers here are negative 1 and negative 3. So on these, when you have negative mixed in, you can adjust the sign of your factors. You can change it to positive or negative depending on what you need, as long as they still multiply together to get the number up top. All right? Let's try number 5 now. We need a product of negative 12, so I'm going to take 12 and I'm going to factor it. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And those are all the factors of 12. Now, I want a product of negative 12, which means one of these is going to be negative, but a sum of positive 1. So that means the bigger number is definitely going to be the positive number. So I'm going to change all the lower values to negative, and I'm going to add them together until I get a positive 1. So here's positive 11, negative 2 plus 6 is positive 4, negative 3 plus 4 is positive 1. So those are my factors, negative 3 and positive 4. Now, using this as practice, I want you to try 6 and 7. I'm going to push pause on the video, I want you to push pause on the video and then push play after you've worked out number 6, and then I'll give you the same chance to do number 7. So try number 6 on your own. We need a product of negative 64 and a sum of 0. Push pause now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 64 and I'm going to factor it. So start out with 1 and 64. When I divide by 2, it goes in there 32 times. When I divide by 3, it gets a fraction. So keep going. Divide by 4, it'll go in there 16 times. It doesn't go in there 5 times. It doesn't go in there when I divide by 6 or 7, but when I divide by 8, I get 8. Now, the product is negative 64, which means one of my values will be negative. Because whenever we multiply, if we have the same numbers, and I'll just take 1 and 64, 1 times 64 is 64. If I change it to negative 1 times 64, it'll be negative 64. If I change it to 1 times negative 64, it'll be negative 64. And if I do negative 1 times negative 64, it's positive. So these two that got us negative answers was because one of them was negative. So I need to have one of my factors as a negative. So, and I need a sum of 0. The only one when we put a negative and a positive and we get 0 would be this last one. Negative 8 and positive 8. Negative 8 plus 8 would be 0. So our factors are negative 8 and positive 8. If you wrote this in the other order, put positive 8 first, negative 8 second, that is fine. Now, I want you to do the same thing with number 7. Push pause on the video, try it, and then after you've gotten your answer, push play and see what I got. So push pause now. Alright, so I'm going to take negative 6 and I'm going to factor it. I'm just going to factor it as if it was positive, and we'll deal with our negative at the end. So there's 1 times 6 and 2 times 3, and those are the only factors. Now, the product was negative, so one of these will be negative. I need a sum of negative 1, which means this time my bigger number will be negative. So let's change our bigger numbers into negative and see what we get when we add them. 1 plus negative 6 is negative 5. 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. So those are the values I need, 2 and negative 3. I'm going to stop the video here, and then we'll get back to doing this full out on the next video.